Hello friends, this is the second video from the answer builders. Again, we've picked up a question from the same chapter 1 of business studies, and the question that we've picked is what is an industry and what are the different types of industries. You know, children, the objective is to really help you with framing the answers, making you understand what are the techniques that you should be employing to make answers, and at the same time remember the answers. So in the first video we spoke about what are the business, what's the definition of business and what are the different characteristics of business. And that particular answer had to be approached in a very unique way, wherein we created abbreviations and we tried to elaborate each of the points from those abbreviations, and that's one of the methods of remembering an answer. Now we shall tackle through this question a different way of remembering or constructing an answer. So the question is, what is an industry and what are the different types of industries? So the first point is, we have to define industry in 1 or 2 points, just like we had defined business in the in video 1. So we will get to that in the next slide. And the point number 2 that I wanted to emphasize on was, how do you use a memory technique to construct answers to questions of this type, where you are trying to explain as to what are the different types of a particular thing. Now obviously there's the question here is that what are the different types of industries. So whenever you encounter questions of these sort, the first thing that should come to your mind is how do you really create a mind map of sorts. So the technique that that you should use, and which we have termed as the branch and tree method, and the fact that we use a photographic memory technique, that we create a photograph of the answer in our minds, so that we capture the essential points in the form of a branch, a tree branch, and we remember the essential points. So typically an industry, when we say what are the types of industries, there are 3 types of industry as you see on the screen: primary industry, secondary industry, and tertiary industry, and then further bifurcations of each of these categories. So essentially when you have this thing in your mind, when you have this photograph of this branch etched in your mind, you will never forget the answer. So we will move on to the actual question. So what is an industry and what are the different types of industry? So we get down to defining industry. Industry means, and children, we've tried to actually make the answers, in fact print the answers in the manner that you would actually write down in your exams or write down in your notes. So we've tried to use a font which is familiar to you. Anyways, coming back to the answer. So what does an industry mean? Again, just like the earlier video, industry, the definition of industry can be broken into 2 parts. Again, industry means economic activities. Economic would again mean anything that is related to money. So economic activities which are carried out for converting raw materials and resources into products or services for use by end customers, or not only end customers, but there are times when factories, businesses make services or products which are used by other factories or businesses. So what we need to mention is that it is just not meant for the end consumers all the time, but it could also be useful for other manufacturing processes. So that's the first part of the answer, and of the definition rather. And the second part would say that it involves use of machines, human skills, and technology. So very clearly, I mean, if you envisage, or if you are imagining a factory, you know a factory is actually making some kind of a product, and the other part is that the factory is full of laborers, machines. So obviously those are the kind of resources which are being put into place to make the product. So very simple. Industry means economic activities which are again split into two parts: production, or rather conversion of goods, conversion of raw materials and resources into some sort of products or services, and the fact that there is involvement of machines, human skills, technology, etc. Now moving on to the different types of industries. So the different types of industries, the first type is the primary industry. So again, we will follow a pattern wherein we pick up a particular phrase and we keep using that phrase so that we remember how to construct the answer. So we say that it again includes all types of economic activities. Here in primary industry, what we mean is that economic activities are of a specific nature, which is we are directly dealing with the natural resources. So we are trying to extract something from the nature. We are trying to create something from the nature. So let's say crop farming, or for that matter, we are using living animals. We are trying to breed animals. As animals come to use in different ways. We get dairy products. We make dairy products from milk of animals. So all kinds of activities which are of that nature, where we extract or we get products from the nature, are called primary industries. So based on the nature of the economic activity, primary industries can be further broadly classified into two parts, which is the extractive industry and the genetic industry. So essentially, what we've spoken a little while back, we have just segregated into two parts. One being the extractive industry, where we are trying to extract something from below the earth. So it refers to, again, economic activities mainly concerned with making products directly extracted from nature. So what are those kind of industries? As you all know, mining, fishing, farming, just to name a few. And the second is the genetic industry, refers to, again, economic activities mainly concerned with breeding of animals. It's a very big industry, children. I hope you know about this. The breeding of animals. Where do you get your chicken from? Where do you get your tasty lamb from? Where do you get your sausages from? Or where do you get your plants, veggies from? Cut vegetables and all of that you pick up from the malls. So all of that would come within the genetic industry. So that covers the primary industry. Now we move into the secondary industry. Children, I hope you are able to understand that memorizing the term is so easy here, because when you have primary, you naturally have secondary industries as well. So what are the secondary industries? In a gist, secondary industries are all those companies, all those businesses which take inputs from the primary industries and convert them into much more useful products. So just by knowing that and creating a couple of sentences at your end would suffice in terms of defining what a secondary industry means. But for your benefit, we've also put that in the form of a note, so that when you refer to this at a later stage, you would be able to clearly memorize the answer. So industries that use inputs from primary industries and convert them into finished goods to be used by end consumers, or intermediate goods that can be used as further inputs in any other manufacturing process. Why are we calling this an intermediate good? Because it's not a finished good. It is something which is again going to be processed and finally made into something which will be used by the end consumers. And we'll come into the different types of secondary industries to clarify this point further. So within the secondary industries, there are basically two categories: manufacturing industry and construction industry. Now, what is a manufacturing industry? Where we take manufacturing industries are again economic activities which use inputs from primary industries as raw materials and convert them into utilities for end consumer or partly finished materials for other manufacturing industries. Very similar to the point that we mentioned about secondary industries. The definition, or for that matter the explanation, doesn't change much. The only thing we need to be aware of are the further classifications of manufacturing industry, and this is very simple actually if you look at it closely. One is the analytical industry. So when you get the input, you segregate the input, you break it up into small parts, and you use each of the parts as finished products. So let's say you extract crude from below the earth, and you convert that into, or you break it up into petrol, diesel, any other types of oil, plastics, etc. So we start with the analytical industry, which means there's a separation of the inputs that we are getting from the primary industry. Synthetical industry, it's just the opposite. If you are separating the other way, you're combining. So you're combining inputs to form something absolutely new. So let's say steel, cement. While you're making steel, while you're making cement, you're actually combining a lot of chemicals. You're combining a lot of products to form something which is absolutely different from the objects or the products that you've combined. So very logical. Analytical, synthetical. So synthetical is just the opposite of analytical. Moving forward, processing industry. Now, what we've done in the first two cases is that we've split the product. In the second case, we've combined the product. Now, this is the third case wherein we are saying that we convert the product using multiple steps to come up with the finished product. So let's say sugar. So where does sugar come from? From sugar cane. But we just don't convert sugar cane into sugar. There are various steps that are involved. First we extract the pulp, then we dry the pulp. Then there are several steps that are involved. Similarly, when it comes to paper, where do we get paper from? We get paper from the bark of the tree. So again, there are a lot of steps involved before the paper comes out as one of the products which is used by all of you children. So a processing industry is something where there are multiple steps involved in converting the inputs from the primary industry into a finished product. Fourth is the assembling industry, which means that there are many components or parts which are assembled together to form a product. Here, those parts remain the same. They're just brought together to form a finished product. So let's say your computers have a computer screen, they have a computer chip, they have a hard disk inside, they have a battery inside. So your laptop has all of that. So what are those things? Those are separate inputs from different kinds of industries from the primary industry, and they are being brought together to form one single product. So that's the assembling industry. So isn't it so simple then? First you have analytical, then you have synthetical, then you have processing industry, and then you have the assembling industry. So that completes your manufacturing industry, which is the other form of secondary industry, which is you just can't forget that. It's the construction or the infrastructure industry. That is very important. Roads, buildings, houses. So any economic activities related to building of roads, airports, dams, bridges, houses, it's all termed as construction industry or the infrastructure industry. I'm sure you guys read about these terms very frequently these days: construction, industry, houses. So just use those terms, keep it in your mind, and you should be able to kind of formulate the answer. And finally, the third type of industry is the tertiary industry. So we've spoken about the primary, the secondary, the tertiary. Tertiary would mean that it's branching out. So essentially, when you say tertiary industry, it means economic activities which are mainly supporting the primary and the secondary industries, which are ensuring that goods reach from the primary industry to the secondary industry, from the secondary industry to the final consumer. So all of these kind of activities come within the tertiary industry. So essentially, these are industries which are facilitating the process of exchange of goods between producers and the users. And these are all actually not, if you look at it closely, these won't be the type of businesses wherein products are being made, but these are largely businesses where services are being provided. So let's say transport, you have banking, you have warehouses where Amazon, when Amazon actually comes and delivers the product to you, they actually store the product somewhere centrally in big warehouses from where those products are being delivered to your houses in no time. So just imagine if there were no warehouses, then how would a business like Amazon or Swiggy flourish, for that matter, or Zepto? So they have to store their products somewhere. So that's warehousing. So these are kind of services which are being provided. So that's what you call tertiary industry. So pretty much that's how you construct the answer. You memorize. You keep a track of the branch and the tree that you need to remember. And then once you create a photograph of that branch and the tree in your mind, all you have to do is that just elaborate each of those points at your end, and the answer would be ready. Isn't it simple? So it's a 4-mark answer. It may be a 4 or a 5-mark answer, but it wouldn't take you more than 10 to 15 minutes to kind of create the answer in your mind. And once that is done, all you need to do is probably revise it every 2 or 3 days, and within a week or 2 weeks, this whole answer would be etched in your mind, and you would be able to write the answer in your exams, or for that matter, remember the answer all your life. So easy is the process of memory in our brains. So all you have to do is that you have to concentrate, you have to be very focused, and those 10 or 15 minutes that you are using to memorize the answer, you have to memorize in a manner that seems logical. And the moment it is logical, it will also be very easy for you to recall each and every point of the answer. And remember, there are various techniques of memorizing answers, and we've just discussed the second such technique, the first being the video number 1. So you should refer to video number 1 as well. So that's it, my friends. Do please email us on theanswerbuilder@gmail.com with your queries, with the kind of questions that you want us to help you with. And of course, subscribe to the channel, like, comment, share it with more of your friends, so that we get to know what are the kind of questions that you are getting stuck on, and we can help you with that. And finally, goodbye till we come out with the third video. Thank you very much. Bye.